All right, it is 7 o'clock, and I will call the regular meeting of the Clayton City Council to order. First item of business is roll call.
Councilmember Diaz.
Present.
Vice Mayor Ania.
Here.
Mayor Juan.
Here.
Councilmember Trupiano.
I'm here.
And Councilmember Tillman.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Next is the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, that's item 2. Item 3 is public comment on non-agenda items. If anyone is in the audience and would like to make a comment on something not on the agenda, now is the time. Seeing none, I will close public comment on non-agenda items. Next is the consent calendar. Does anyone have any item that they would like to pull from the consent calendar? There are 2 items. One is the minutes, and the other is, looks like, an agreement.
Contract extension amendment.
Yeah. No items to pull? I actually want to know more about this myself. So can you elaborate a little bit on what this additional $20,000 a year is for?
Happy to. Mayor, Council, this, you'll recall when we were looking at our list of items, we wanted to have a planning software to help us with the permit process. We talked about a company called Acela. We did some due diligence with Acela, with Civic Plus, who offers a similar product, and with a third company as well that had a not so great product. We looked at all 3 of them, had staff that was involved directly with permitting, specifically our senior planner, as well as our code enforcement officer. And they selected the Civic Plus product as superior to Acela, both from a cost and usability standpoint. So this would add that functionality that we had talked about last month into the same package we have with Civic Plus, and so.
And this is like in conjunction with the website rollout and all the other stuff that's going on? Okay, cool.
Yep.
And this is, the primary purpose is, what did you say, centralize the permitting process?
It will track and then also help do the billing for permits, yes.
Okay, does that include like things like business licenses?
That is the next step. So it will include that, and the same piece of software will be used for business licenses as well.
Does that mean we're going to deprecate the other one that we have?
Yes.
Okay,
You asked the question, I'm going to give you a direct answer.
perfect. I just want to make sure that we're not
Yeah.
overlapping our platforms
Yep.
to do the same thing, so.
Nope.
Okay, cool, I'm good. Does anyone else have any questions? Sarah? Okay, public comment on the consent calendar.
Oh, did you want to add something? Oh.
I'll move for approval.
All right, well, hold on. I'll close public comment. Okay, now go.
I'll second.
Okay, and I will take roll. Councilmember Tillman.
Aye.
Councilmember Trupiano.
Aye.
Councilmember Diaz.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ania.
Yes.
And Mayor Juan.
Aye.
All right, the motion carries 5-0.
All right, that concludes item 4. Item 5 is recognitions and presentations, and we have one item here. This is a Republic Services Sustainability Award for 2026. I believe we have members of the audience. I don't know if staff is going to introduce, or we'll ask the folks from Republic to come forward. If you could turn on the mic, that'd be great.
Yes.
There you go.
Is that all right?
Yes.
All right, thank you all. So hi, everyone. My name is Claire Doclia. I'm Sustainability Advisor for Republic Services, serving the city of Clayton. I'd first like to take this opportunity before you all to introduce Juliet Dawn. She's Republic's newest municipal manager representing the city of Clayton, and she comes with a wealth of experience. It's been fantastic to work with her so far, and I look forward to having her on the team and with us at the city of Clayton. And otherwise, I'm up here to introduce the 3rd Annual Sustainability Award. This recognizes organizations or individuals for superior sustainability efforts and for those who set a positive example for others through recycling programs. So I'm so excited to be presenting this award to such deserving recipients, the team at Skipolini's. They are really pillars of the community here in Clayton. Cipollini's is so central. It's a place for community members and visitors to come grab a pie, chat on the patio, head over to the CBCA bocce court. And really in the past couple years, restaurants all over California have been confronted with the state law regarding organics recycling, SB 1383. Many have complied, but Skips has done just such a fantastic job leading by example, moving every last bit of food scraps and food waste from their restaurants into the organics cart, turning into beautiful soil instead of going into our landfills. So we delivered the green bin a few years ago, and they've done the rest, training their staff, keeping an eye on the contents, and reaching out to us with questions. And more recently, we've been working with Skips and the CBCA to divert pizza boxes from the bocce courts into the green organics bins as well. So that's been a huge sustainability win. Part of my very glamorous job as a sustainability advisor is looking in businesses' trash, recycling and organics to check out everything is in the right place. And I'm always happy to see lovely bubbling dough in your green organics carts. So with that, thank you so much and well done. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Would you like
Say
to?
anything?
You're welcome to say a
If
few
you'd
words
to.
if you'd
Thank you,
like.
Zach.
Thank you guys very much. We take this seriously. It took a little while on the first part with the green bins, but the hardest part was getting the boxes, but all of our employees have been trained, and now that it's like that, it's like clockwork. Thank you guys
That's
very much.
excellent.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Hey, Skylar, could you help with the, I think they want to do a photo with the,
Oh, a photo with the award?
you want to do it over here in front of the? Yeah.
Sure.
Do you,
Do you
do you want us in it
want
as
us
well?
in the photo?
All right, let's do it.
Yes.
As I always say, act like you like each other, scoot in a little bit. I'm not saying touch, but you know, close the gap a little bit. I've got to back up. Okay, you know, we'll just go this way. All right, 1, 2, 3, couple. All right, I think I got some, so thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
All right, that was great. That concludes item 5, I believe. Hold on, I gotta make sure. And on to item 6, that is reports. Mr. City Manager, if you have a report for us.
Thank you, Mayor. So we've got a few items to go over this evening, one of which is fresh on our website today. We've been talking a lot about finances and possibilities in the future. There is now 2 items that have been added to the website on the homepage under City Manager Newsletter, and that's a monthly newsletter that just hit today. That'll be going out on social media as well. We just haven't gotten there today yet. And then there's also another link for frequently asked questions that have come up about finances in the city. So we were very candid and honest about, you know, the questions that we've heard, some things that have been posted online in some various locations. So we just wanted to put responses to those questions so people had clear understanding of our current financial situation. So when you get a chance, take a look at that. Like I said, we'll be sending out the link multiple times over the next couple weeks. We've also ordered printed material. So when we get those, we'll provide council with stacks that you can share. And then we also want to put some at the library and some other locations around town. So trying to get that information out to the public. So the housing element that we worked on for a very, very, very long time. We
Like
received-
800 years?
Felt like it.
At least 50 cents per year.
Dog years. We received notification back in April about certification. We had not fully completed submitting all of our documents yet. We are anticipating some other form of acknowledgement. We finally heard back from HCD, and they said, no, you do not get a participation trophy. What we sent you in April was what we sent you, and you're done. So we are complete as of now. There's some programs we need to work on as staff and build and bring back to council. We'll start that work soon. But the good news is we are in compliance. Yes.
You know, I didn't believe it, so I went to their website to validate it, and it is actually on the website. So
What does it say on the website?
it says status. I forget, there's like a 2-letter abbreviation that it uses. It's basically done or something. So
Said not last, but
there's a handful that are still open,
there are.
and
So glad that one is behind us. Weed mitigation, we had a June 1st deadline, and we met that deadline. That was completed. There are probably a few spots that we'll have to go back and do some touch-up in a variety of areas. So if you hear of anything from residents, let us know, and we'll send our crews out there to touch up those spots if we missed anything. And that is for the open spaces for fire. Our 2 positions that we had vacant, Public Works Director, will start next Tuesday. We are adding another Craig to our 3rd floor, so we'll have 2 Craigs and 2 Chris's out of 9 people. Yeah, we're looking for a dentist next, so if anybody knows one. So he will be here next Tuesday. We'll introduce him at the June 16th meeting. He's worked for a few other agencies around the area, good experience, really great references, and we just enjoyed meeting with him and getting to know him a little bit. So another week he will be here. City clerk, same thing. We offered her, did the background, everything is done and complete. She will start Monday, the day before the council meeting, which is June 15th. So she will start that day. So you will see her clerking her 2nd day on the job. She has vast experience as a clerk in a variety of different cities. So welcome her experience, and happy to finally have a full staff.
so Skylar can tap out.
June 15th. And I think that is everything for tonight. Yes.
Can you add any commentary around the project type stuff that you had included on the website? I think last time we talked about it, that it was going to go up, but
It's up.
I believe we asked, can you indicate when it is so that we can publicize all the good work? I'm not sure if that happened, but if it did, I may have missed it.
So I think I don't remember sending you an email saying it was up.
That was my subtle way of saying you didn't send it to me.
Affirming that.
Tyler sent it.
Oh, okay. So we do have it up online. We are updating it. So for example, the last couple of weeks, since it did go up, not that you knew that, that it was, we've updated those additional parcels that we've finished. And so we've been keeping that part up. I'm still reviewing, just so you know, on the road sign, spots, dots, curb painting, line painting, all that. I have the proposal in hand from our paving contractor to do that. We're going to separate some things out, so I've asked them to break that contract or that proposal down a little bit. So we're going to move forward quickly with that and get that going as well. So that's the status. I don't know if you have any other questions about it.
Nope, perfect. Does that conclude your? All right. So that is item 6A. Item 6B is council and council reports, and those can be found in the agenda packet. Next is item 7, public.
Whoa. You think Council Member Ania was backing me on all my meetings, but it's not, it's me. It says
It says
Councilman
Ania
Ania
twice.
There
on
was a
my
typo by the
report.
clerk, which is why we're getting a new one.
Apologies.
No apology, I just want to make sure the record is clear.
Okay, so I believe there may have been a typo in the
Is that
report.
what that
Yes.
was?
A typo.
All right. Moving on to item 7, public hearings. 7A is an ordinance update.
It's part of the glitch. I failed to tell you that one. So that one was a placeholder that got deleted and
Okay.
somehow it stayed. So we had a little system problem this week
All right, so
with
I
a few
will,
items.
I will just say, there's a few items that got either published or not published on the agenda that were unintentional, and so there's a few items from the current agenda that we will either be tabling for another time or not discussing at all. So 7A is one of them, and spoiler, 8B and 8C will also be one of them. So, all right, so moving on to 7B-ish. This is public hearing on, the annual public hearing on workforce vacancies, recruitment, and retention efforts. This is the one we do want to talk about?
This is the one we do want to talk about,
All right.
and complete our requirement that the state has given us. So I don't have a presentation. I've provided the council and the public the report in the staff report that's available online, and basically the good news is that our vacancies were quite low, particularly now that we are filling the 2 vacancies that we did have on that report. They will be filled next month. It's a timing difference. We did the report effective in May. They'll be filled in June, and so we'll be at 100% filled positions or 0% vacancy, depending on how you want to hear it. We did do a number of recruitments, as we've made you aware throughout the year, including for clerk, public works director, police officer, and so we've been busy, and also senior planner was done in the last year as well. So we did a lot of recruiting work. The last thing I would say on the report is we have begun to change a little bit in our philosophy about how we're doing recruitments, utilizing, especially for higher level positions, a recruiter with a very low cost option for helping us with the marketing materials for the position, and then using their candidate tracking system to track applications. And that's been worked out really well, especially in these last 2 recruitments. We definitely got much higher quality candidates across the board in those last 2 recruitments since we started using the Wendy Brown Creative Partners recruiting firm. So I don't know if you have any questions for me about the report, but that's it. We do ask that you open a public hearing about that and then receive any public comment. And then if you want to come back to me after that public comment, you're welcome to for any follow-up items.
Perfect. All right, well then I will open this public hearing and seek any comment from staff, or I will turn it over to the public.
Is there any action required? Because I thought it sounds like it's informational.
It is information. I believe the action is to receive the report and provide any comment. And so the report is received within the agenda packet. So I guess I would take public comment on the public hearing if there's any. Seeing none, then I will close public comment on the public hearing. And does council have any questions for staff? Good job. Then I will close the public hearing and conclude item 7B. All right, next up is 8A, and this, I believe, is Mr. Bachman is presenting information about a grant application, which sounds exciting. It's on.
It's on? Okay. Good evening, Mayor, council members, staff, members of the public attending both in person and virtually. My name is Chris Bachman. I'm one of the Assistant Chiefs of Contra Costa County Fire. I'm also the Fire Marshal. And before you tonight, I have a short presentation to discuss a proposal that we are seeking to apply for the CAL FIRE Prevention Grant. It's going to be roughly $950,000. There is no match requirement for the city or for Con Fire. There is a commitment level that CAL FIRE is now wanting to see as they approve these large projects, and that's the commitment that we're going to maintain them. So in the proposal, I do list what Con Fire is willing to provide for that ongoing maintenance and what the request would be from the city, and I can get into that. Those details when we get to that slide presentation. Are you able to share a slide?
There we go.
Okay, so what is a shaded fuel break? A shaded fuel break is, if you can back up a couple slides.
I think we have a little bit of lag. Hold on a moment. If we can go backwards a little bit.
So what is a shaded fuel break? A shaded fuel break is a reduction in fuels. It's not cutting every tree down. It's not removing all vegetation. This is the second large project that we will be applying for with CAL FIRE, is successful in receiving for a project like this, that we go in and remove the understory and ladder fuels, limbing up trees 6 to 8 feet in height, mowing or grazing the grasses underneath, and then to dispose of that vegetation, we either mulch in place through chipping or we do pile burning. This does enhance forest health and really improves the fire safety by creating us anchor points that we can stop a fire if it comes into that area or slow it down. Next slide. So we've been evaluating throughout our jurisdiction areas to consider. And we've heard a lot of concerns from residents with the new severity zones, changing insurance concerns in Clayton. And after having our wildfire prevention captain and myself out evaluating the areas in Clayton and looking at some of the brush and the trees and the vegetation that does need some attention, we do feel that this area could really benefit from it. The severity zone maps aren't the only thing we look at. I'll go through some other areas of why we selected a draft of the map we currently have. But the severity zones do kind of point us to areas to consider, because in the application, they will ask how many acres are in the very high, how many are in the high, and how many are in moderate. They also want to know, do you have landowner permission to do this work? The great thing about this project that we're proposing is we're only dealing with 3 landowners: the City of Clayton, the City of Concord, and Oakhurst Country Club. So if I could get the next slide. The fuel break location starts at the fence line of residents' properties. This is an area that I walked out in Clayton, where it shows, this is some areas of what that fence line looks like. The idea is that we will also work with the golf course on the strategic location. I'm actually meeting them on Thursday to show them a draft map and really discuss with them, because we don't want to change the feel or the look of the golf course, but we do want to make sure we've provided a good fire break of where should we provide this. So I don't have the full piece laid out in this draft, because I do want to work with the golf course on where they would support that. It does include interior open space as we get into the map, so it's not just the perimeter, and I'll explain why we've identified some of those interior parks or interior open spaces. As I already mentioned, we'll be dealing with 3 primary property owners, which CAL FIRE also says we have to provide letters of commitment that, yes, they support the project. So they don't want to award money and then we go out, and this is complicated if you're doing, and it's involving a bunch of parcels, because we experienced that. The last one we did was the Lafayette Walnut Creek Shaded Fuel Break, although the main property owner was Rossmore, which is actually the Golden Rain Foundation. But we did have about 20% of the properties were outside that, and they were concerned that we weren't going to be able to get all that buy-in from those residents. But we were, and completed that grant, $3 million, right on budget, right on schedule, and actually ended up doing about 20 more acres than we'd committed to based on efficiency. So the fire model, this shows the predicted flame length and ladder fuels. The different lines around there are considered what's zone 1 and zone 2. So your first set of lines that go around those houses is that 0 to 30 foot. And then your second set is your 30 to 100 feet. This really shows the importance of why we would want to do a fuel break both in the open space and along where we have these interior parks, because property owners are really only able to do that defensible space on their property. And as we see, the property, or the 100 feet goes beyond their property, so that's out of their control. Where this is where that responsibility and that land that we're referring to is city-owned. So we want to be able to use the grant, come in there and work on reducing that predicted flame length. So both in the upper space, which is showing the golf course in this picture, along with that those middle open spaces, because the one in the bottom corner, that's ladder fuel. So the blue is the highest level of susceptibility of ladder fuels igniting trees. And you'll see that we have the greatest potential of where that's occurring is both where it opens to the open space meets the homes, along with those center parcels or those center parks that we have. Really also increases the possibility of ladder fuels by catching that ground cover and those lower level fuels to catch the trees on fire to then put homes at risk. So we feel that this is a great opportunity to implement a shaded field break. They still keep all the tree canopy, you still keep the trees, but we're going to get rid of all that understory and brush. Next slide. So we also used a 5-meter fuel model to evaluate this area. And this is separate from the fire hazard severity zones. This fuel model, we have this done countywide, and it looks at and identifies a wildfire hazard area. So that same fuel report that I just showed you on the smaller scale of where those parks are and where that open space is by the golf course, if you look there in the middle, that's that area that we pulled the report from. And when you look to the northeast, that's the area we're always concerned about, because the northeast is the area that, as we get red flag events, that's where the wind's going to be coming from. So it's going to be pushing from the upper kind of right-hand corner of that photo, and the winds would be pushing down at a 45-degree angle. That's the avenue that we would have most likely our strongest wind events. Sometimes they will come straight north, but usually it's north-northeast. And so as this is being evaluated, the wildfire hazard on this 5-meter fuel model is looking at flame length, extreme fire, weather potential, what's the ember load, suppression difficulty of being able to access this area, dense impervious vegetation, human development, transmission lines, distribution lines, and where have historical fires occurred. If I can look at the next slide. So we track where our fires are occurring locally. This is the last 10 years of where we have identified fires occurring in size. And if you look, that's the red flag events, as I previously mentioned, are where they typically produce winds from the north to northeast. And large fires, or the large number of the fires, are showing have come off of Kirker Pass. So when you look at where Clayton sits in relation to both Kirker Pass and Pittsburgh, it shows that even fires starting up in that area of Pittsburgh are right in that northeast of Clayton. So on a windy day, if we're dealing with red flag conditions, we not only need to worry about the open space in Kirker Pass, but also the edge of Pittsburgh where we have historic fires occurring. So this also really supports the importance of doing a fuel break along the northern side and northeast side of Clayton to provide that good anchor point. If a fire is to burn across the open space, we've got a good place to stop it. Next slide. So defensible space. It is not included in this grant. That is the responsibility of the property owner. We're going to be educating the community this year about what defensible space is. It is required if you're in the very high fire hazard severity zone. And enforcement would need to be done before completion of this grant in 2028. We anticipate we'd have up to 3 years to do this grant, but based on the size and our experience in managing grants, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't be able to complete this in 2 years or less. So, but with that, they're not going to want to see an incredible fuel break around Clayton and then all the homeowners haven't done their defensible space. So we know as an educational component it's going to need to be in there. to make sure that residents are doing that. This is just a picture I took. I tried to take the homes out so it isn't really calling anybody out, but a good example of where you can see this is not in conformance with the defensible space guidelines that's set forth by the state of that, even without zone 0, of that what does 0 to 30 feet, zone 1, what is it supposed to look like? So we will be making sure that we're taking that opportunity to educate, and we're hoping that as we're doing this incredible work behind these homes, that then it'll prompt the residents to then do the work on their properties. So I want to make that very clear. You know, this isn't a grant that's going to go in and do that defensible space. We're going to just be dealing with the 3 property owners, but we'll be educating all those property owners around this fuel break where it is going to touch the edge of their property. Next slide. So the Lafayette Walnut Creek shaded fuel break was a 2022 project. This is what the map will actually look like when we're complete. So you just got the draft version today. This is the map that we did around Rossmore. It did include 2 cities. If we identify a grazing area, which because of the amount of grasses we have, I'm sure we'll be taking advantage of confirming that the area that comes up next to this, that rancher, the owner of that open space, if they're gonna commit to continuing to graze that, then we'll include that as a match, saying the property owner that we're not gonna do that work, but when the property owner is gonna say that it would be added as an additional buffer, that owner would continue to graze that area, and if they do, then we can count those acres as matched grazing. The fuel break is in red, and then on there, those small sections of green, that's where we crossed over into East Bay Regional Park. And as you'll notice, the size does vary based on the topography and the vegetation. So in some areas, it's 100-foot wide. In other areas, it's 200. Then it goes up to 300. It just depends. We evaluate that, and that's what, in the next month, we're going to have to really hone in on and decide what's the width that we need to build a effective fuel break around this community. The similar map will need to be done before July 8th because that's when we need to submit. I anticipate it being done around July 1st because I'll be taking this to our fire board, which is the Board of Supervisors, requesting permission to apply for this grant at our July 7th meeting. It is in the fire chief's report next week, giving them a heads up that we're going around to our cities. We're asking for their support, and this is the next area that we plan to put in an application for. Next slide. So we're seeking letters of commitment from our 3 property owners that we're dealing with. There's no additional cost or match requirement from the city. The project is estimated to cost around $950,000, but CAL FIRE wants to ensure the fuel break is going to be maintained. Our ConFire hand crew, Crew 12, will maintain, we'll say, the most difficult part of this, which is keeping everything limbed up, the chipping, the mulching of the vegetation as trees, if they continue to drop, or additional limbs continue to grow. That's the hard part, is keeping that maintained. We're willing to commit to that on fuel breaks that we create through CAL FIRE. What we are looking for out of the golf course and our cities is the commitment of the grasses and the weeds after we complete this, which most of our cities are doing anyway, because under our weed abatement ordinance, we require that fuel break of either disking or mowing or goat grazing around those perimeters that come into around subdivisions. So I would need a letter of commitment in the next 2 weeks for signatures. I can provide that letter. They've provided a sample letter that we would provide, but I'm here tonight to answer any questions and hopefully get approval for the city manager to sign that letter of commitment that the council members and mayor support this proposal and would like to partner with us on this shaded fuel break application through CAL FIRE. If I could have the next slide, should show the fuel break map data set. Forgot I had this in there. This is another really valuable thing that's going to be a benefit to this community if we're able to do this. So we're mapping all of our fuel breaks countywide. We name the project, we provide the funding source, the year it was completed, along with providing every year is it maintained. The reason we're doing this is it indicates total acres, the type of mitigation performed. And so we'll identify, was it mastication, limbing and thinning, goat grazing, mowing and disking? And then how do we dispose of that vegetation? Did we chip and broadcast, did we pile burn, or did we lop and scatter? Say, why are you asking, why would you answer all these questions? So if I can have the next slide, it's actually for the catastrophic models that the insurance companies are using. It's a data set called Landfire. So what we're doing is all the fuel breaks that we create in our county, we're following this format to upload it in this national data set called Landfire, that, because all the insurance companies will tell you they use different catastrophic models when identifying what is the risk of a community to set rates. So when we provide this information, which we did 1 year last year, and got a response back that they're like, your data is correct, your GIS shape files are uploading into our system, it's usable data. Do you now authorize, we will upload it in the system, do you now authorize us to share this with third parties? And we signed a form and said absolutely, because we know those third parties are insurance companies because they have value. But that's why the insurance companies want to know, when was the last time that was maintained? Because if you create a fuel break and you don't touch it for 5 years, it loses its value. But if we're able to document every year that we went in, we evaluated, it was maintained, it'll indicate on there, year it was created, 2027, year maintained, 2028, 2029, 2030. It maintains that very high value as insurance companies are evaluating that. So next slide. So this is our current draft area that we're looking at. We anticipate it to be at most 100 acres. It'll probably be a little less than that. With that, it does include the grazing areas. I anticipate it'll probably be about 50 to 60 acres of true mitigation work of limbing the trees up and create a shaded field break, and the other 30 to 40 acres will be more of just grasses. But if you want to see more about this mapping, this is something we're very excited about, because I've been talking about how we're mapping and how we're sharing this information with Landfire, and I show these examples, and from cities to residents, everybody says, why can't we see that? So we had to do some, because we use an ArcGIS platform to create all these shape files, was being able to figure out a way to share that publicly to where they can't mess with the boundaries, but the data would still be available for them to see. We were able to solve that. I've been promising, I think, for 5 months that June 1, it'll go live. It went live yesterday, and you can go to our website, and on the banner, you'll see there's a list of things to click on. On the very far right corner, you'll see a little gear wheel that says mapping and dashboard for fuel breaks. Click on that, and you can move all around the entire county, and you'll see not only what Confire has done through Measure X or through grants, but what our other stakeholders and partners, such as East Bay Regional Parks, East Bay Mud, Contra Costa County Public Works, all the evacuation routes that they're doing. Anybody that's doing work in the county, we're gathering that data, we're uploading it in the format that Landfire is asking for, we're making it visible to the public to show transparency, and we're sharing it with the necessary stakeholders that are reviewing this to hopefully lower insurance rates and keep an open mind for insurance companies as they evaluate our county and don't put us as this high concern because of the mitigation work. And you'll see there's thousands of acres that are now being identified that we're treating and that we've completed along with the evacuation route cleanup. Happy to answer any questions.
I do too.
Well, I'm asking for arc of it, but are you talking about the 30 feet from the line or more?
Yes,
Which
yeah.
we're doing now?
correct.
Okay. Okay.
So, but after 2028, will we need to maintain the 200 feet?
So I'm going to word that they're going to commit to what they're currently doing, and that we'll evaluate the additional area of the grazing. And if not, then what it would do is it would show the initial, and you'll see this when you look on our map. You'll see East Bay Regional Park is probably a good example of this. You'll see they create some really wide fuel breaks. And then you'll see an area about half that size. It's another shade, and it says this is what they decided to do when they went back in and maintained it. And usually it says disking or mowing.
Okay.
So it is common to say we're going to create this really wide fuel break because we want to make sure that that's the area we're limbing everything up. But the mowing or the disking or the grass is usually sufficient at 30 to 60 feet, depending if you're mowing or disking. But we would identify then every 3 years when we're going in to limb up, we'd go back to the full width and say, we limbed up and made sure those ladder fuels are nice and high, that it's not an issue with the grasses underneath.
Okay. And then I just had two follow-up questions. One was, is there a potential for the neighboring communities like Keller Ridge and even Oakhurst Country Club to potentially lower their insurance rates after this is completed? I mean, is that a
So
possibility because
what we know
it's
will happen
additional
is,
mitigation?
yeah, when this mitigation is done, it will be put in a format that it will be uploaded into a data set that insurance companies pull from.
Okay.
We would definitely encourage everyone to say, hey, make sure that you know that this fuel break has now been created. You can see it on our website. We've made this link available for every city, every fire district, because although we're managing it, the data, we want to make sure that the data is easy, or the maps are easy for people to see. So we're willing to share it with any city that wants to promote that map and dashboard on their website, along with any fire district in our county. And we've already gotten requests from neighboring counties. How did you guys set this up? We want to follow. This is incredible, what you're showing, not only to the community, but to stakeholders that are making decisions on insurance rates and whether they're comfortable with the mitigation work that's going on. So yes, we're also starting a new pilot program in both Brentwood and Lafayette that is called the Wildfire Risk Assessment Program. And that's where then we go into those individual parcels and we evaluate them, even if they're not in the very high. So what we normally see is in the open space, you have this thin line of very high, then it goes to high, then it goes to moderate. But the reality is in a large catastrophic fire where conflagration occurs, it may go all the way through all three of those and even get to houses that don't even have a rating. So insurance companies usually want to know, they don't just care about the perimeter, they want to know what does that whole subdivision look like. And that's what we're going to try out we're going to first implement it out at Trinity, to do not just the very high, but assess every home. Of the 1,500, we're hoping to get 1,000 homes assessed. It's going to be done with assistance from residents. We'll be using our platform with iPads and inspection software, but not doing it to the state standard, doing it to the IBHS standard. And that IBHS standard is Wildfire Prepared Plus.
Okay.
That's what the insurance companies want to know. It's not mandatory, but they want to know, how does your home stack up to Wildfire Prepared Plus, along with vegetation? What does the vegetation look like to this, we'll say, gold standard? I've already talked to several insurance companies about it and said, we know that down in Escondido, California, there's the first and only true wildfire prepared community where over 100 homes all got 100% of the gold standard. Wow. $1.5 million homes are paying roughly $1,000 a year for insurance per house, because they know this is the score of every single house. So when I've had discussions with those same insurance companies, I've said, what if maybe the score isn't 100, but what if we know that every house is 85 or 83 as a community? That's got to be better. That we know so many homeowners are maybe paying $15,000, but then you have an example, if you're 100, you pay 1,000. Well, what if you're in between, or you're at an 85? Where can we meet in the middle on a more affordable insurance option for residents if we're able to say this is a community score? So this would be another thing. It wouldn't be part of this grant, but as we complete that, well, those assessments in Brentwood and then Lafayette, this area would be my next target, because we're doing this fuel break around the community.
Okay. Thank you. That's a great answer. I appreciate that. Just two other quick follow-up questions. So you're going to County Board of Supervisors on July 7th. Mm-hmm. And so what's the timeline then after that? Then you apply for the grant?
So we submit July 8th.
Okay.
It usually takes about 4 months, 3 months on a fast year. 4 months is usually a turnaround where we start to, agencies will start to hear if they've been denied. And then you usually get that first wave of you'll hear the denials. And then right behind that is usually they'll ask for additional details or confirm, do you still have the commitment from your property owners? Why I like this project so much is because it's going to be very easy to maintain that communication with 3 property owners.
Yeah. And last question, I've had some residents in the community that have, I guess, been contacted already about doing some defensible work around their homes. And are there any programs available that you know of where they could apply for funding to sort of, help them? I live in an HOA, and the HOA is going to be responsible for about 90% of the work that has to be done in our development. But some of our folks are in non-HOA developments, have to do the work themselves. Do you know of any programs for residents?
So we have the Contra Costa County Wildfire Mitigation Program, but that's not really meant for individual parcels.
Okay.
It's really meant for kind of this open space. And we actually just completed a small section around the golf course of doing that.
Okay.
But in that evaluation, we quickly realized that this was way more labor intensive than what we had funding for through that program that's funded through Measure X. Because we need to continue, and you'll see when you look at the map, because you can click on it, tell what year we've done it, funding was Measure X, how many acres it is. We'll put that Clayton piece that we just completed on the map shortly. But we quickly realized that this was a larger project, and it really needed to probably be completed with a grant. But we're going to identify that in our narratives to say, we went in and started this area with local funding and quickly realized that it was more like $1 million project, and we need state assistance to do it right. But as far as we did do some work this last weekend as kind of an exception or a one-off, where we did do some work on individual parcels or property. But the reason we did that was the benefit that we were doing on the property owners wasn't for the property owners, it was for the neighbors. Because they were long lots, it was a steep hill. The work we were doing was at the back of the property, outside of the 100-foot defensible space that really benefited or could enforce it as a requirement to the property owners. But when we're doing along the property line at the top of the hill, the property owners were saying, I have narrow backyards where I can only do 50 or 60 feet of defensible space, and this overgrown area behind me is actually my neighbor's property, but we couldn't force them to do it because it was beyond the 100 feet. That was an example where we came in, we did do that under Measure X under this mitigation program. It will be identified on this map also as creating a fuel break, but it was really about expanding that defensible space for residents, but where we did it was on property owners benefiting neighbors. And that's what we like to do, is where we say, we understand this is out of your control to do. So that's when we take advantage of saying, let's use our hand crew and go in. I think we did it on a Saturday, and go in, and we were there 4 or 5 hours and, clean that up, chip and broadcast it, chip and hauled it off, and was able to assist in that neighborhood. So there are some examples, but for the most part, it's really about, do you have open space? Do you have areas that's out of your control? What we can do is we can provide the chipping. So if residents get together and you need 10 homes, and you say, our 10 homes are going to go in and we're going to do this mitigation work, but now what are we going to do with all these branches and all this debris? We have chipping days. So you get 10 houses together, you identify a date you're going to have it done, and within 2 or 3 weeks, you'll pile it up at the curb or in locations. We identify the biggest size it can be, and then we come by with our chipper and our trip truck, and we chip it and haul it off at no cost.
Okay, that's helpful. That's right. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
Chief Bachman, thank you very much. It was a very comprehensive and complete report. And pardon me if I tend to wander a little bit. I've got a number of area questions related to your report. But first of all, the fact that you're targeting Clayton and Concord and Oakhurst, but that is city property that is owned by the city, not residential, correct?
Yes.
Okay, because the residential will come at a later phase in your program.
Well, I'm assuming, so when we clicked online and was looking on the tax records, so those parks, I call it the interior open spaces.
Okay.
It was identifying when we were looking up GIS that the city of Clayton owned those. Are you saying those are owned by actually HOAs or subdivisions?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
city-owned property,
City-owned
not
property.
the residential,
Correct.
because that'll come
And
out
that's
of.
why I identified that we would only be going up to the fences
Got it.
of the property owners.
Back on, and go, this is the little micro, back on the third or fourth slide you had, and you talked about what is a shaded fuel break. Can you expand on the limbing trees 6 to 8 feet? Help me understand that.
So when you look at that picture, you'll see
Yeah.
that we limbed everything up. Can you pull the slide back up? And if you go to some of the earlier pictures where I identify about some areas we've identified or looked at, and then that's what it'll look like when it's done. So you're still going to see the tree canopy, but you're not going to see all the understory and the brush.
Okay,
So this
You're
is,
right.
like this was
Now
actually
you've helped me
out of
understand this,
Rossmore.
yeah.
We didn't cut trees down. Now, smaller trees, if, they're too dense and creating an issue, we will cut down smaller trees, but your canopy will completely still stay in place. The neat thing about a shaded field break is when you're done and you fly a drone over it and you take a before and after pictures, you really can't see the difference. But underneath, you see this compared to if you go a couple more slides forward of some areas we evaluated. That's what you see now.
Yeah.
See the heavy, fuel underneath the trees. The issue is when a fire comes in and it catches those lighter, flashier fuels, and then it catches the pine tree or the trees, and then that's when it starts going then tree to tree to tree, and that's when you see afterwards, you look and you have all these trees that are just, looks like toothpicks standing out of the ground, and they're completely decimated.
right. But
The-
to this point here, that is open space with trees on it, and the brush below is very possible fire, capable, because it's so it's dried out and turned brown. I'm trying to relate that ultimately to the residential areas where I don't see, and I drive around the city quite regularly, I don't see residents with a lot of brush below their trees at this. So I'm just trying
No,
to
but if you
help them
If
understand.
you back up one photo.
Yeah,
This is in, we'll say, an area we've identified that break will go near the golf course.
Yeah.
That we would get rid of all that brush through there and limb up those trees that you would literally be able to see right through there to the open space.
Got it.
But from above, it will look the same. But we need to get rid of the dead trees that are down, the understory, and the brush.
okay. When do you anticipate the residential component to be with education and getting them prepared to comply? Because what you want is you want a letter of support from the city,
Yes.
but it is for the city-owned property, and you'll get one from Concord and then Oakhurst.
So our goal is this year, and we've gotten
Yeah.
out to most residents, this year, even before we apply for this grant, is 2026, to make sure we've gotten to every residential home, not just in Clayton, but county-wide in our
Yeah.
jurisdiction, that's in the very high, to educate them about defensible space. We're then going to do a phase 2 of that as soon as we know what the new regulations are about the zone 0. The current draft regulation says zone 0 for existing homes, you have 3 years to do the zone 0 or the resistance zone, because it's now changing on size, around your house, and then up to 5 years for a fence. We're waiting on going back till we know what that new regulation is. So then not only can we educate residents about what defensible space is, but the implementation or the phasing in of these new requirements. To then, it would be then in 2027 into 2028 when we need to have compliance. Because that's when I anticipate if we're awarded the grant, we would have the grant done, and then we would also identify that not only we created this field break, but we spent our first year on education, our second year in identifying inspections, and our for enforcement in our third year to make sure that we have the compliance, which would be 2028.
Okay, my last question is going to be towards our neighbors on the Morgan Territory area. They are served by Engine 11, and they are not part of our jurisdiction. However, they offer a lot of influence to what goes on here in Clayton, and they are in a real high-risk area because some of them can't even, I don't know if they can or not, but they tell me that they can't even get insurance because of I guess the problem with potential fire hazards out there. So will you have a dedicated program for them? Because I know some of them are listening to this today.
We do have and have done work out in the Marsh Creek area, from evacuation route cleanups to providing chipping days and offering, another one is, I know there's some Firewise community out there.
Yeah.
We also offer assistance, it's called, through the Firewise strategic plan, that if they're a Firewise community, they have to have a 3-year strategic plan. What that strategic plan option is show us what your strategic plan is. What year are you at? Oh, we're on year 2. Okay, when you complete year 2, how about we evaluate and then we go in and we'll complete year 3 of what you've identified. And that's where we assign our hand crew to that. So we kind of jumpstart them to get them through that 3 years faster than what they had anticipated, to also then ensure that they can get renewed as a Firewise community.
Good. Thank you, Chief.
Other,
Thank you for the presentation. Get my mic closer. The area that I don't have, it's page 40 out of the 316. I don't know what page it is in the presentation. The fire models page.
Okay?
Everything that's
Pull that back up.
on this picture, except for the upper left corner where the condos are, is already in the Keller Ridge Firewise community or neighborhood. Does that help you with the grant at all? And I know that you're not worried about defensible space, and that's not included in the grant, but that entire picture is already part of the Firewise neighborhood. Does that help you?
It won't really have an impact because
Okay.
we're only going to be dealing with 3 property owners.
Okay.
It will help us in the narratives of identifying once this is done. Our goal is to show that our fire department and our stakeholders of our golf course and our 2 cities have done a very proactive approach to protecting the community. Now, we need their buy-in, because we don't really want to have to do it through enforcement, to understand the importance that they need to do their defensible space. Everything works together. It's homeowners doing their part, creating fuel breaks, and having the fire department response. And not one of them works well by themselves.
Yes.
You need all 3. So through getting this grant and then educating our residents and continuing to provide the service that we do, we feel that we're then meeting all those requirements. It'll help us. We'll definitely use that Firewise community to help spread the information and the education. Be happy to attend a Firewise meeting to help educate residents about the importance of it. But we've just found that when we go in and some of these smaller fuel breaks that we do, it kind of jumpstarts a community. They see the difference of, wow, look at what this now has done behind my house. Now maybe I need to do more on my property, or the neighbors across the street then start doing more on their property. So we see this countywide as we've went in and done fuel breaks. This one's a little larger than what we can tackle on our own, but a great opportunity to apply for a grant.
Okay, great. Thank you again.
I just have a couple questions. And it had to do with the enforcement and the rules. A lot of Clayton ends up being in high fire severity zones, so they would get the whole 0 to 5, zone 0 requirements. The February 2027 date, that's like a recommendation. Is that a hard date? Or what you said earlier was that there's like a 2 to 5 year grace period for adopting all the changes around folks' houses?
So the only, we'll say, grace period is to deal with the fire resistant zone and the non-combustibles. So right now, the current draft regulation says that defensible space standards today of 0 to 30 a zone 1 and then 30 to 70 a zone 2 are enforceable today with what the requirements are. What is a phased-in approach is the new regulations that are coming out for that fire-resistive zone, which was a lot of people know as zone 0. They have shrunk that down from 5 feet to the new proposal is to your overhang or 2.5 feet. They are allowing some exceptions of what could be in that. But whatever they land on for the new requirements for that, when they adopt it, the implementation is required 3 years after adoption. So if they were to adopt that this summer at the state of the fire resistive zone and the wood fences going away, you would have 3 years, when I say going away, up to 5 feet, you would have 3 years for existing homes to make that change for the fire resistive zone. And then you would have up to 5 years for the fences, unless locally a city or a fire district says, we don't want to wait 5, we want it done in 3, or we want it done in 2. But it couldn't exceed 5. So that's the phasing in that the state talks about, or when you hear defensible space requirements. When I mentioned 2027 and 2028, it's really just about, to get a closeout of this grant, CAL FIRE will come out and do an assessment of, did you do the work you said you were going to do? How does it look? And did you meet all the benchmarks or all the requirements that you said that you were going to? And with that, because it is, defensible space is required, but we know with the new regulations coming down, we want to use that opportunity to educate this community about what's coming and be able to identify. We're not going to be enforcing that piece of the 3-year because we won't be there. We'll be done with the grant before then. But we'll be right on the tail end of that residents would need to know what is that fire resistive zone information, because the year after we do complete it is when it would be enforceable.
Yeah, so you mentioned that the language is in draft.
Yes.
Is it, but then you also speak of it as if it's like almost ready to go?
The comments we're hearing is it's probably going to pass as it's written today. It's been reduced in the requirements. The original requirements was it was 5 feet. There's nothing, no plants, nothing potted, nothing within 5 feet. And there's more exceptions and some local authority on making some judgment calls on some of those exceptions. And this has been done through public hearing, public comments, multiple meetings. I believe the next meeting is set later this month or beginning of July to see, is the committee going to make a proposal to take the current draft that they have to the Board of Forestry to vote. And there was a lot more positive comments on the last one, the last unveiling of the current draft rollout than the last few meetings with the old regulation. So I think we're getting closer on when a formal adoption will occur, but there's still no guarantee. And that's why we're trying to stay away from these are the requirements of zone 0 or zone, the fire resistive zone, because it's still up in the air of what the requirement's going to be.
Understood. The only reason I asked is because one of the comments that you made earlier was that when the inspection for the completion of the grant is happening, not only are they going to look at the work that was done within the areas specified, but they will also look at the defensible spaces that exist within resident or around residences.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking about the timing on when that happens, it's going that examination, or however they describe it, is going to occur prior to the regulations coming into effect.
Well,
so how will they?
The
how will they judge
regulations,
it?
the regulations are in effect today.
Not
for,
so they'll
for
judge it
zone
on the-
1 and zone 2.
Okay, so they'll do the zone 1, zone 2,
Yeah.
but not the zone
Correct.
0.
Yeah, zone 0 fences, those won't be evaluated.
Okay.
But we will be able to say, we have educated all those residents about what is coming in the next few
Yeah,
years.
I think I conflated the zones 1.
Yes,
and
but
0.
zone 1 and zone 2 are required today.
Okay,
And that's what we really need to get out, and we have been educating all our residents, doing those complimentary inspections, and educating our residents.
Okay, perfect. That's helpful. So one of the comments in the deck talks about there's no initial costs. that kind of indicates to me that there are future costs associated. Is that
It's just
connected?
the maintenance of the grasses and maintaining the fuel break.
Okay.
Because we're committing to maintaining the limbing up with our hand crew.
Okay.
We're just asking that you maintain the commitment of the fuel break with the either mowing, disking, or goat grazing.
Okay, and from a staff perspective, are we comfortable with that level of commitment? I think you mentioned that it is consistent with the work that we're already doing in the existing spaces, but I was hoping that you can confirm.
It's generally consistent with the size of the breaks we're making behind fences. The one difference that I heard today, and we can do some conversation about it, we're not removing biomass now. So when we're cutting, we're leaving it in place to decay and go into the soil.
That's just fuel.
And it's different than fuel. And so I want to, let's be clear, it's not exactly fuel. And it's, because it's laying on the ground. So I think that's a key difference. So having to haul out or remove that biomass is not something we currently have our contractors doing. And so that would be an additional cost.
And to clarify, so it depends on the size. I believe in the last grant we just completed, we identified biomass, anything, I believe it was as either 6 to 8 inches or larger, we left in place. And that's acceptable. So when you're limbing things up, a lot of your branches are 3, 4, 5, 6 inches. We take that and we chip and either broadcast it or haul it off, or we pile burn it. But when you get into these large 8 and 10 inch wide stumps, if it's a dead tree, perfectly acceptable to leave that because that's not a fire hazard when it's on the ground as a large stump in 4 and 6 foot sections. It's biomass. It will ultimately degrade and compose into the earth.
Okay, and so the commitment that you're asking is for us to continue maintaining that, and then to the extent that there is biomass left that meets the criteria to remove, is that a fair statement?
Yeah, if it's less than, I believe it's 8 inches. If it's less than 8 inches in size, then the expectation is that it's going to be, or it can stay. But if it's less than 8 inches, it needs removed. But I'm imagining most of what you're calling biomass is probably
Grass.
smaller. Yeah.
It's grass.
Yeah.
So the grass could stay on the ground after it's cut? Or you're saying if it's less than 6 or 8, you'd have it removed because?
So grasses can stay on the ground. It doesn't have quite the value. And when you look at that chart, because Land Fire wants to know that, did you disc? Did you mow? See, when you disc, you're pretty much knocking a lot of that grass underneath the ground. When you mow, it's knocking it down and leaving it lay flat. Or did you prescribe burn it? If you prescribe burn it, then you've eliminated all of it. So it's still considered a valuable fuel break. It just doesn't have as high a value. Your highest value is going to be if you prescribe burn it. But we know that's not possible to do every year.
Yeah, thank you. I think the nature of my question is really just to understand the commitment that you were asking for and the amount of support that we can provide to make sure that we're not committing to something that we're not aware of or over-committing something that we cannot support. So I look to staff to say whether or not that is within the scope of what we can do.
Yeah, to maintain currently what we have been doing historically is what we can commit to.
Okay.
And I would just ask if there's any areas on the draft map that I provided that you haven't done. I don't know, because I haven't walked the entire thing yet. I don't know if on the interior lots, I do believe on the perimeter, it looks like that's been done. I think on the interior, we're identifying through our fuel modeling report and the ladder fuel report that it's also important to address those as well, and that's why we've included that.
We did deal with the interior piece behind the homes on Miwok. And so I think that area between the golf course and those homes on Miwok, I think that was one of those interior parcels that you had in the map. And we did do abatement there this year. So.
Excellent. That is all of my questions.
I have one
Do
more,
you have-
please. You mentioned if 10 homes were to get together and needed a chipping day, that was doable. How do homeowners do that?
They can fill out go to our website and fill out there's a link or a thing that says Contra Costa County Wildfire Mitigation Program. You click on that, it takes you over to an application portal.
Okay.
And then you click on the Community Chipping Day, and it'll say, do you have 10 or more homes that are committed to doing this? We request a map, because we'll want to know the street, where you're going to pile it. We'll send you a response of, here's here's kind of the size restrictions of what you can pile up along the street. And then we do like to warn residents that the day you get done is not the day we're going to be. We're not like the trash service that's going to be here within 5 days.
It's not like DoorDash?
Yeah, it's depending on how busy we are, but we will get to it. And sometimes it takes up to 30 days, but we will get to it, chip it and haul it off at no cost.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Public comment on this item. The ask is that the city support the grant application.
Yeah, with a letter of commitment.
Yes. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Is there any other discussion that council would like to have?
I would move approval to
I'll
support.
second.
Okay.
Excellent.
Then I will take roll. Councilmember Diaz.
Yes.
Councilmember Trupiano.
Yes.
Councilmember Tillman.
Aye.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Nia.
Yes.
And Mayor Juan.
Yes, certainly.
Motion carry 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you for your support.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, that concludes item 8A. And as I mentioned earlier, 8B and 8C on the agenda are being tabled for another time, if at all. So we will move to item 8D. This is a resolution of the levying and collection of special taxes related to the landscape maintenance district.
Very good. Thank you. So this item is our annual approval of the levying of the fees for the LMD, keeping in mind that the current LMD authorization is in place for one more year. So this is what would show up on people's tax bill coming this fall for the 26-27 fiscal year, if you will. It's a fairly modest change of 3% this year. The CPI was 3.8%, but the provisions of the LMD is that it's capped at 3%, so we are not able to collect that other 0.8% on this. And I think it's fairly straightforward. The rates would change from 303.73 this year to 312.84 next year, $312.84. So I think really shows that then the revenue estimated would be about $1.38 million for the coming year. That concludes my report. If you have any questions, happy to answer those.
Excellent. I'm going to skip that for a second and go straight to public comment. Public comment on this item. All right, seeing none, close public comment. Discussion on this. This is our regular adoption, so any discussion from council? All right, then a motion looks for.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, I'll
agenda
second.
Item
I will take
8D.
roll.
Excellent.
I'll second.
8D. Councilmember Diaz.
Yes.
Councilmember Tillman.
Aye.
Councilmember Trupiano.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nia.
Yes.
And Mayor Juan.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, that concludes item 8D. Moving on to 8E is a resolution establishing a policy on the disruption of telephonic or internet service during city council meetings. That is not grammatically correct, but okay.
Thank you. So in light of SB 707 on July 1st, we will go back to broadcasting our meetings. The action here is to set a policy for disruption in those meetings. So if we have some sort of service issue with internet, with our provider, with whatever platform we're utilizing, there is a policy in place that we need to adhere to. The gist of the policy, the entire policy is in your packet, but with the highlights, if we do have a service interruption, the meeting needs to be recessed either by the mayor or the city clerk. We then have up to 1 hour to fix whatever the issue is. If we resolve that in 10 minutes, we resume the meeting, everything's fine. After 1 hour, the meeting can resume without the internet or telephonic, and you continue the meeting. The city clerk is required to make a note in the minutes so that folks know when it went out and that we were not able to reconnect. And this policy and this operation for us is only for the city council, not the committees or planning commission at this point. So it just has an effect on our council. So that's the policy and the highlights. I don't know if the city attorney would like to add anything that I may have missed.
I'll just add one other item. If the hour passes, in order to continue the meeting, we just have to make certain findings that we made a good faith effort to restore the service and that the public interest is best served by continuing the meeting, which outweighs the public interest in the remote access. So once that finding is made, you could continue the meeting without, for instance, the Zoom portion of the meeting continuing.
I'm
Excellent.
sorry, what did you say at the end there, without what?
For instance, if we were reutilizing Zoom again, you could continue the meeting after you made that finding if for some reason the
Okay.
internet was down and you couldn't allow for Zoom participation.
Okay,
The finding would be like, we find that the proceedings of this meeting
It's
are
the pu-
necessary.
The public interest in continuing the meeting outweighs the public interest in remote public access. So for instance, on this, we need to get certain items done
Got it.
before the next meeting would be an example of why you
Okay.
would want to continue
And
meeting
then-
without Zoom.
we're not newly broadcasting, right? Because we've been broadcasting, right? We're live streaming. It's more that we're adding an opportunity to participate,
Correct. Remote participation.
remote participation, okay.
Two-way telephonic services.
And then do we determine at this time the amount of time the public has to, 3 minutes, 2 minutes? I mean, different councils.
No, this
do
is just
different-
the policy if we lose connection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
I just have one clarifying question. If let's assume the internet goes down, streaming stops too then? So if that were to happen today, for example, and streaming wasn't working, would we continue the meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
You could. This policy goes into effect and the law requires it as of July 1.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
Hypothetically today, though, the way that the current rules are, if
There's no requirement
there's no
for us
requirement to stream anything.
There's no requirement.
you.
So it would be at the pleasure of the
Thank
council
you.
could obviously decide not to, but
Okay.
there's no legal requirement to stop the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, theoretically, you could have one of the providers go down and not the other. It's possible, so. Okay, any other questions for staff? Public comment on this item? Seeing none, closing public comment. Any other discussion that council would like to have regarding the policy that's being proposed? Seeing none, motion would be great.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that we adopt Resolution 14-2026.
Excellent. If we could call the roll.
I will call the roll. Councilmember Tillman,
Aye.
Councilmember Trupiano,
Yes.
Councilmember Diaz,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ania,
Yes,
Mayor Juan.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, that concludes item 8E. Next and last is item 8F.
So this item before you today is a follow-up to the discussion we had on June the 2nd about what the steps are necessary for bringing forward the extension of the LMD, Landscape and Maintenance District in the city of Clayton, past its expiration date next June 30th, 2027. At that time, at the June 2nd meeting, you asked staff to come back with a prepared resolution of consideration with no change in the method of apportionment of the fees to bring forward as well the and then the desire to add a one-time 10% increase to the assessment. So that is what you have before you today, is that resolution of consideration. That would also call for the public hearing to take place on July 7th. It has to be more than 30 days from today. And so July 7th would work if you were to approve this resolution of consideration today. And at that point, the public would have the opportunity to express its opinions about that, about the extension, as well as the additional 10% increase in the fees. And at that same meeting, you'll be asked to vote on 3 resolutions: one to place it on the ballot, second one to consolidate our municipal election with the statewide general election in November, and a third one authorizing folks to provide the direct or rebuttal arguments for the measure. That concludes my staff report. If you have any questions, I'm available.
Well, my first question is, we had an open item about whether the argument in favor could be the process, and I think you were going to look into
Yeah,
it. Do you have information?
I have the answer, and we will bring back, I think at the July 7th meeting, the actual selection of the subcommittee. We can, as I alluded to at the prior meeting, we can't have the council at a public meeting draft the argument for or against, so because of the use of public resources. So the way that it is traditionally done is selecting 2 council members as an ad hoc committee, which will be done at the July 7th meeting, to then draft the rebuttal argument and the argument for, such that the entire council can sign it.
So then, mechanically, we could establish an ad hoc committee.
Mm-hmm.
The ad hoc committee can come up with language. The language gets brought back to council.
No, the language is approved by the ad hoc committee, and then individual council members should go into the city clerk's office and sign it once the ad hoc committee completes the document. It won't come back at a council
see.
meeting.
Would it be a serial meeting if the ad hoc committee were to poll the audience
Yes.
among the council and say
Yes.
like, hey, what do you think about
Yes.
this? That would be considered a serial meeting.
Yes, that would be the classic example.
I'm just, just making sure. Just making sure.
So
So don't do that, is what you're saying.
Don't do that.
So are we establishing that ad hoc committee this evening?
No, that'll be at the July 7th, when you
Also at the July
actually,
7th.
when
Okay.
you move forward.
And it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be 2 members of the council, does it? It could be, or does
I
it?
mean, the council can select anyone to write the argument in favor if they so chose.
Or it's the council?
Yes, but then the council is not signing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Just like peace out.
Signing that.
Yeah.
So I have a quick question. Can you repeat the rationale on why the council, why we wouldn't do this together on a June
Yeah.
7th meeting?
So if you recall, you're not allowed to use public funds
Okay.
to support
Thank you.
a measure, and so
Okay.
And we're
funds
literally
include
supporting a measure.
resources,
And so the
staff
time is, okay.
the facility, the recording, we have consultants here doing
Okay.
work. All of that is staff and city resources and time, and so that is why it wouldn't come before the council.
And so the ad hoc committee, the 2 people who presumably would be from the council, can decide, like, hey, Kim, let's meet for coffee and discuss it? Okay.
And then
But no staff member has to
draft
be
it.
there.
No staff would be involved. So
Mosquito.
if you select 2 council members, those 2 council members could meet privately.
Okay.
Draft the language, and that could then be signed by the entire.
So
Okay.
can we,
But not on city time.
Not on
can we
city
play
time.
this out just a little bit?
Well, maybe we could do it, this isn't specifically on the agenda, so I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, or we could also discuss it in greater detail, but we will be bringing it back at the July 7th for selection of the individuals.
Okay, thank you.
I do have a question about the resolution. So it's saying that we've got the parcel classification, residential, non-residential, and then we have the maximum rate. So after tonight, we're at 312. This is a 354.45 per parcel or per acre. Is that the maximum after a 10-year period? Does that include the reserve? Does that? Yeah.
No. So the way I got to 354 for discussion purposes today is that if you add a 3% CPI for this year, which you just did.
Right.
And then assuming the max CPI again next year, actually you don't have to assume, the max CPI for the next year is also going to be 3%. That's how I got to 354. If something weird happened and the CPI was 2.5, that would reduce that 354 to something.
Wait, did you add in another 3%? Because didn't we just adopt the last and final 3% tonight?
That is in there.
Okay.
And then on top of that, there would be another 3% plus the 10% bump.
Plus the 10.
Plus the 10% bump.
So the 3%, the additional 3% would be, if approved, that's the next 3%. I got it.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So the 312, so the 354.45 is the 312 plus the 3% plus the 10?
Yes.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Seeing none. Public comment? Also seeing none, so I will close public comments. You know, we get lonely up here.
Ask
Just
any
saying.
question.
All right, that's fine. Your prerogative.
Tell a joke.
I will close public comment. Any other discussion from staff regarding the scheduling of the public hearing and the related resolutions? All right, seeing none, if there is a motion on this item,
I'll make a motion to consider and adopt a resolution of consideration number 13-2026, setting the public hearing for July 7, 2026, on a proposed extension to the existing property tax, et cetera, et cetera.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Okay, then I will take roll.
we could call the roll.
Councilmember Diaz? Yeah. Councilmember Trupiano?
Yes.
Councilmember Tillman?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ania?
Yes.
And Mayor Wan?
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
All right, that concludes item 8F. That is our last item. And now the meeting will adjourn at 8:28. Thank you.